Welcome everyone. We will start in a minute as more attendees are yet arriving for this webinar. Thank you. Okay, I think we'll get started then. So good morning, good evening, or good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you're connecting from. To introduce myself, I'm Shashidhar Reddy, Technical Marketing Lead, Citrix Ready team, leading the mobility ecosystem. And we have Howard and Ben along with us from MindLink, who will be presenting for this webinar. But I would like to thank you everyone for joining today's webinar and welcome you all to the technical webinar series where we showcase how Citrix and our partners have integrated to deliver valuable products and solutions to the common problems faced by our customers today. Thank you. So just to give an overview of Citrix Ready program, Citrix Ready is an end-to-end technology partner program wherein we showcase all the third-party verified products, and we also recommend these third-party verified products and solutions, and along with the services that demonstrate compatibility with the Citrix products. Customers can quickly and easily find these solutions recommended by Citrix in the Citrix Ready marketplace by navigating to citrixready.citrix.com. And also you will find a lot of information about the program once you navigate to citrix.com/partnerprograms/citrixready. So today we will be talking about secure enterprise chat using MindLink Mobile, wherein Howard and Ben will walk you through those presentations. So before we start the presentation, I would like to just make a quick point that if at all you have any questions during this webinar, please use the question panel on the right-hand side, and we will take your questions at the end in the Q&A session. So without any further delay, please welcome Howard. Howard, it's all yours now.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and yes, welcome to the webinar. And what I hope to do with my colleague Ben Osborne, who's also on the call, is really run through what we think the next generation of enterprise chat is really looking like. We hope that during this process you can see some of them the way that people have misunderstood chat and how it's been maybe abused in the past, and how really that has now changed, and how people are really focusing on the fact that enterprise chat is a better way of working than effectively the old paradigm of email. So what we hope to do is use real life cases. Obviously there'll be a question and answer session at the end, but I hope in the next sort of 15 to 16 minutes I can give you a flavor of what we're seeing in the market and where we're going. So first things, MindLink Software, just as one of the leaders in enterprise chat, we base our platform very much upon the Microsoft technology stack, principally the Link 2013 and now Skype for Business. We're a Microsoft Gold partner, and we have a large number of partnerships, including the one with Citrix, where we're working in tandem with them to provide a fully engaged enterprise IM and persistent chat environment. But let's just talk about really maybe the misunderstandings that have gone on through the market. So from the very earliest times when IRC was used, and there were some terrible incidents of misuse and people using it for very unsavory practices, obviously the world now has moved on, and the world of finance really saw the opportunity to use persistent chat rooms as a means of actually sharing internal information, both internally and externally. And as you're probably aware, there's been a lot of court cases and a lot of issues out there in the market which have shown the misuse and the consortium of users abusing the system around LIBOR and TIBOR and all the other pieces. But I think now there's a real change, there's a sea change. There's obviously a huge visibility now, the fact that people need to communicate professionally. There is much more in terms of compliance, ethical walls. But I think what's really come through, certainly with the world of social collaboration, as you'll probably see from systems like WhatsApp and Slack and others, that I think people are recognizing the fact that, you know, email has had its day. Maybe it's the lowest common denominator, but ideally, if you have secure chat rooms of groups of people, it is a much more efficient way of working. And that's what I hope really to illustrate in the next few minutes, really to show you the way that we're seeing people using it and the way that MindLink is really looking to bring and drive that further forward. So let me just first of all just sort of position where we are in terms of, you know, really focus. So as I said, we very much work very closely with the Microsoft platform, and we've built our entire strategy upon that. So we can use that to leverage it. And I know Citrix and MindLink are one there because it's one of the sort of the main growing platforms there. But what we do is there to enhance and basically build added value upon that platform. But in some messaging, so I am obviously from the perspective of a one-to-one communication, or maybe even a one-to-one, you add somebody to that conversation. The whole point is it's a transitory, temporary conversation. It's not there to persist in the way that it's searchable, retrievable, or any of those things. It may be saved to your local Outlook if that's what it is, if you've got it set up to store to Exchange. But ultimately, when you close the conversation, you lose that chat, and you lose the element of actually all the knowledge and information that you will have gained by that. What we mean by persistent chat is that those chat rooms are permanent. They're extensions of that meeting that you just had. It's the very essence of, you would normally set up a meeting, maybe you'd invite all those people into a particular room. Within that room, you'll have a chairman. You'll talk specifically about the conversation or the topic or the project that you might want to work with, and you'll invite those people to join you in that conference. And in the same way, that is essentially what the persistent chat room is. It is a natural extension, but in a virtual world, where you can add content, links, images, pictures, videos, anything. So ultimately, that chat room, that place, becomes an area that when you log on, you'll see the message that you've missed. You can send standard messages, you can send enhanced messages, but ultimately it becomes an extension of your day-to-day business. And I think one thing is clear, I think in a lot of the conversations that we have, is that business, while there's a lot of social collaboration out there and there's a lot of broadcasting and discussions going on generally about, you know, are you aware of what's going on? I think from a business perspective, a business is based on key foundations of direction and growth. And chat rooms really form a critical part of what I see as the future. So within the Link 2013 and Skype for Business, you effectively have these persistent chat rooms, and you'll have that both in the flavor of Link 2013 and now Skype for Business. But let me sort of explain to you where we see the world in terms of chat rooms. So many of the organizations we go and see, they're basically set up, and they may actually have enabled instant messaging, but it's sporadic. It doesn't necessarily cross the entire business. When you start adding the persistent chat rooms, you tend to follow the kind of Venn diagram kind of look you've got here. So you may have, in this case, 5 core areas: sales, HR, IT, marketing, and it will vary obviously for different businesses. But where they overlap, and it could be that you have a global chat room, which I haven't illustrated here, but what you'll find is that you'll have overlaps in terms of your projects, maybe your particular groups, maybe there's joint practices that are going on. And within that organization, you can set up your chat rooms, you'll allocate the managers, and essentially what you can do is you can really start bringing real efficiencies into the way that you organize your business. And maybe this is a sort of an example of the typical way that we're seeing people adopting persistent chat. So while you have your silos in those 5 different groups, you have team-based groups, you'll have maybe social auditorium rooms where nobody can say anything but they can listen to what's going on, or maybe there's specific topics or projects that you're actually seeing. And in the same way, you know, when the teams that you have are out there, you really want to get access to it in whatever form you want. Now, obviously, you have the Link client when you're on your desktop, and when you come to mobility, then there's MindLink, and when it comes to web access and others, again, we have a whole suite of products which basically allow an organization to really endorse the enterprise chat world. And the core things there is, you will find people will save time. They'll have less meetings. They'll have less conference calls. And because when you log on, you'll see the messages that you've missed, there's a real opportunity to save time and obviously save money as a result. So we're seeing a lot of different aspects of this being adopted. And I think these 6 areas typically illustrate the core places where we've seen an early adoption, and that's before it going across the whole organization. We've had some, I think incident management and support, the ability to make decisions faster, to bring the right people together, has always been a core element. And certainly in a couple of examples I'll show you in a second, incident management support, making use of information quickly to make better decisions, has been one of the drivers on all the organizations. But as you'll see, from a marketing perspective, it's good to know what everybody's talking about you, maybe nipping things in the bud about misinformation or seeing what your competitors are doing. And again, from operational management to sales management, there are cases across the organization to adopt enterprise chat and MindLink and Link chat rooms. So the world of finance, as we touched upon, is probably one of the early drivers of this. And that was specifically because when it came to news, information, trade ideas, flow, whatever you want to call it, the ability to actually have a 24/7 global team working in unity and collaborating efficiently was one of the key areas where people could make better decisions and make money, essentially. And that's one of the key parts of where this can go. So if you have a globally deployed organization, you're now bringing teams together in that 24/7 global economy. But it doesn't stop there, really, because the idea of actually being able to have a chat room, why can't you start then connecting or embedding data into that? So what we've done and where we're seeing organizations going to is saying, oh, fine, let's have a chat room. Let's discuss maybe core alerts and notifications that are being put into those rooms. But let's also bring the very data and the visual data into it as well. And that's another thing that we're seeing a great deal of interest and excitement about, especially now that the world of tablets. So I think there's a real cost in not having chat. And I think what we're seeing, and we're seeing a huge growth now of interest in having not just these temporary and casual chat rooms, but something much more robust, something more enterprise ready. And with that, organizations are looking to deploy this efficiently, effectively, and with the security, and which is why we're very much working with Citrix right now as one of the leading players in that particular market. And there are huge opportunities and savings to be had. There's obviously compliance and audit capabilities across the Microsoft Link and the MindLink platforms. And we've done a lot of work with our customers and partners to see what kind of potential savings there can be. And I mean, realistically, if you could save just a few minutes of a day by simplifying the process of not having to open multiple emails, because essentially all of those different strands and filtered conversations are actually aggregated into one place, then you can save a lot of money and a lot of time. And if you look at your overall salary bill of a business, the savings are quite material. But that's not where it ends. Where it gets exciting is where you start connecting the systems and the people together. So we've looked upon this as integrations. We consider it as almost the collaboration of applications or things. So you have IoT, maybe you have collaboration of things. But the point is, while email can be the very basic element, where you start connecting those applications and feeding content into those chat rooms, you can really start dynamically building value in your organization. So going back to the very essence of that organization, within each of those different teams, each of those will actually have different applications they'll use on a day-to-day basis. So from a sales perspective, obviously clearly CRM and I've illustrated Dynamics, but there are a lot of CRM systems out there which will send notifications and alerts. And if you can capture those, don't send them as an email to fill in an inbox and lose the priority. why not just effectively add that into the chat room dynamically? We've seen working with customers within HR where they're using SharePoint to basically put all the content and data. Well, with MindLink, you have the opportunity to actually add as a web part or a SharePoint web part actually within the SharePoint site, the very chat room. So you have that knowledge portal, the static content, the tacit knowledge that can be shared by users actually within that group. And that applies to all of the different examples, as I'll illustrate in the next few seconds. So when you look at it, all of those different groups will have different stories in terms of mobility, desktop, the rest of it. Those alerts and notifications coming from those different systems can be automatically routed into those variety of chat rooms. And a classic example going back into the world of finance would be, why not take the latest feeds or the failed trades or the fact that there's maybe it's breached a risk limit that's sitting within a system based on a particular trade or algorithm, and why not actually feed that automatically to the very team that are there to manage and deal with those particular incidents. We've been recently doing a lot of work in some of the transportation and aviation areas, and this is I think if you can see from the background, some very disgruntled people who've basically been told again that the train has been delayed and there's no reason to do it. But the very fact that the guards, certainly on the line that I live in the UK, the guards and the key members of staff within the train operating companies aren't given the latest information from the control center. So by actually connecting things from the world of Twitter or maybe from the websites which are being updated, you can automatically feed that content directly into the rooms and giving the staff a more improved service, better information, and generally an overall better service. And again, we've been looking at organizations from a government perspective where, the ability to actually connect, you have a standard message, maybe an alert message, you have the ability to actually not only ping the information, you can make it mobile, but basically by doing some clever workflows, you can actually identify where people are, where they might be responding, and feed all that information dynamically into those chat rooms to those different groups. So think of a chat room not as a room where you're manually adding content, but think of it basically being an outlet also for content that's being automatically generated. So going back to basics, we're very much focused upon extending the value of the Microsoft Lync and Skype for Business platforms. You'll be familiar with the desktop environment. MindLink has grown very much around providing web access and use against those non-Microsoft desktops, so the Mac and Linux in world, and obviously from a mobile and tablet perspective, we are unique in so much as we support not just IM presence but also persistent chat. But one added piece in there is that we'll also allow the Link client, our MindLink client, to be wrapped and secured within Citrix, Zen, amongst other MDMs that we actually do support. And then the added piece where we're seeing the future of enterprise chat and where we're seeing the development of opportunity is the fact that we have built on top of that platform an API set that with that we've extended into the world of emails, social connectors, RSS feed, website feeds. So ultimately, 99% of any of those requirements to adapt and connect systems to the very people who are working in this much more dynamic chat environment can get access to that information dynamically. And the use cases are growing rapidly. So where we talk about financial services, we've now very much seen a huge increase in incident management around gambling and gaming. The police, we've been successfully in there. We're seeing health. We've signed up some very large shipping companies where each ship is effectively a chat room and where they're connecting all the logistical pieces around it. Military transportation. I think the idea of persistent chat has really moved on, and people are really seeing the potential of what it can do. So I'm often asked, what does the company that is going to adopt it look like? And I don't think that it's very different to many of the organizations. A lot of the people that we're talking to have a much more distributed, much more mobile, and actually working from home type environments. Everybody complains about the email, the overload, the fact you can't prioritize it, and the fact that you actually want to be able to prioritize things when you're out. A lot of the biggest organizations in the world have actually invested in Link and Skype for Business, but probably don't know that persistent group chat is actually a free element of that particular platform. And when they do look at it and when they see it, then the potential of what can be done with it really opens their minds, and it will absolutely cause an organization to actually adopt it even wider than probably just the instant messaging client that you see there. And for those who have that security or compliance requirements, then absolutely the secure containerization of MindLink Mobile is a key part of the play that we've actually got. So sort of to wrap up, why MindLink Mobile? The point is it's secure, it's compliant, it can be wrapped, you won't lose your data from a knowledge management perspective, you can search and retrieve information, it's accessible from any device, not just the desktop that you actually have. And the point is that we've listened to our customers. What we've done is we've added a lot of unique features. So we recognize that when you're on your desktop, maybe you have more time and you can actually have more instant messages and more chat rooms to look at. When you're mobile, we give you a mobile profile. So you don't have to access all your chat rooms. You don't have to access all your contacts. So making more efficient use of the time when you're mobile. And we've added things like a live stream, so it's filtering on the key things that you actually want to listen to, or the key chat rooms you want to look at. Maybe have sub-rooms with the idea of hashtags. And what we've also added is the ability to maybe have a one-to-one conversation and then actually extend that and put that to your team as a wider thing. And also tagging. So I think the ability to actually tag someone and say, right, Sashi, I'm about to hand over to you, you need to look at what's actually about to go on.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, last slide. Really, that in a way is very much what we're about, and we're very pleased and proud to be part of the Citrix Ready network, and we already have a large number of customers who are actively adopting the MindLink mobile platform.
Okay, so that was a wonderful presentation, Howard. Thanks for that. So let's move to the Q&A session, and we have a couple of questions coming up there. Okay, so let me go through with the question. The first question would be, like, can an enterprise realistically remove email from its daily life?
No, I think is the short answer. I think the reality of what we've seen is that organizations are stifled and completely overrun with email, and unfortunately email, as I said, you'll find internal systems pushing email out to everybody, and the inbox gets full, and certainly with the sort of senior members of staff, they can't cope with email. In fact, they miss a lot of very valid and relevant information. What we are seeing though is that for those organizations that are adopting enterprise chat, they are pushing and endorsing the use of it internally. They're removing the distribution lists, or if they have got a distribution list, it's being automatically routed into chat rooms. And ultimately, they're using email for essentially external conversations. So that's very much what we're seeing at the moment. External email, less internal email, more focused customer conversations.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so the next one is, what is your view of mobile app or device management? So let me take that question. So Zen Mobile as a technology, it's like, it provides the secure containerization technology, right? So it's called like MAM solution, wherein you wrap the app and then you upload it to the Zen Mobile console, and when you download the app on your mobile device, you can manage that app by applying the Zen Mobile policies through the console. For example, like if you want to restrict the end user for the cut copy functionality of the app, then you could just modify the app, modify the policy in the Zen Mobile console, and then you can block the cut copy functionality in the app. The other important feature of the policy I would like to mention here is the micro VPN policy, wherein you could set up the policy wherein you will allow the user to get into the network only when the VPN connection is established. So that's the micro VPN technology what we support on the Zen Mobile as of now. So that's what we see for all these mobile apps and the device management. So the next follow-up question is something similar to this. It says, do we need to be VPN connected for it to work? So I would say it would be a mixed answer. Like if you want, if the end user definitely needs to be managed, then you could use the VPN connection, or if you're not using it as a managed app, you could still use it as a, but you don't need the VPN connection for it. Howard, you would like to add something to it?
I'd probably suggest, Ben, you might be better suited to answer that.
Yes, so I mean, for us, one of the main problems we have when we deploy the vanilla unwrapped version of our app is, first of all, how does the app connect into the on-premise infrastructure? So just high level of our architecture, this requires an on-premise Skype for Business or Link deployment, and you deploy the MindLink server inside that network infrastructure. So you have your users on the mobile network or on your external Wi-Fi networks. How does the app communicate securely with the internal Link infrastructure? And using the Citrix containerization, the micro VPN policy is really the surefire way of doing this A, reliably, and B, securely. So for us and our customers, that's been a big win.
Right. Thanks, man. Okay, so we have the next question, like, why have Citrix and MindLink decided to partner?
Well, I can answer part of that, and hopefully you can answer the other.
Yeah.
So, MindLink have been involved in working with us, I think, primarily, originally, a lot of the big financial services houses, and their requirements have been very clear. They need to have IM and persistent chat across their organization. Obviously, they can't deploy that without actually putting that inside a container. And one of the core requirements from these big players has been the fact that they wanted to actually adopt. They've already adopted Citrix maybe across the desktops, but with Citrix Zen and on their mobile clients, they wanted to basically have a Link client. Now, Microsoft obviously provide an IM and presence client, but it's not actually something that they support or enable people to wrap. So, you know, from the perspective of those organizations who really do need to have a mobile policy and a mobile platform, MindLink is a logical choice, and uniquely, and unlike Microsoft, we also support the persistent chat paradigm, very much based on the fact that the organizations that we used to work with were incorporated and acquired by Microsoft and now make up that. So we build a lot of experience, and yeah, it's important to organizations to containerize that Link. From a Citrix perspective, I hope we're a good partner in that regard.
Yes, definitely, Howard. Yeah, so MindLink is a pretty good app, right? So definitely Citrix wants it to work with the containerization solution there, and I'm confident it works fine. Okay, so we have a few more questions coming up. Can you comment on the use of chat in the financial industry?
Yes, I mean, where do you go? Obviously, it's become far more regulated. I think there's certain organizations that are paranoid, to say lightly, about the use of chat rooms within organizations, and rightly so. I think there's been some terrible misuse, but I would say less about internal use. It's been more about connecting from the inside to the outside and using third-party tools. There's a lot of scandals in that regard. I think financial services companies, more than anybody, are seeing the potential of dropping in research, data, information, and connecting the teams in that 24/7 global environment. And so we're still seeing a huge uptake in that within that market. But obviously, in the same breath, as I said in the first few slides, with a clear understanding that there needs to be rules, regulations, everything needs to be reported, clear ethical walls in terms of groups that can or cannot talk to each other. But even though there are dangers in, or concerns about using it, I think they recognise there's a huge amount of money to be made within FinServ by using the chat rooms and removing that disdainful email paradigm that they all have tended to work with in the past.
Okay, yeah, great. Yep, so I still see there are some more questions coming up, but due to lack of time, we may not be able to take up questions now, but we will definitely reply back to those via email. So with that said, we are about to end this webinar now. I would like to thank Howard and Ben for the presentations, and I would like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar in this